Howdy, everybody. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Yammie Noob podcast. Don't call it the Yamcast. Don't call it a comeback. This is a brand new format, never before seen on YouTube, right, Logan? Two dudes talking about something.
I'm pretty sure this is the first motorcycle podcast to ever exist, and I'm glad that people are here to share it with us.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever done anything as groundbreaking as this, and it's something that was really needed in this moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I decided to bring back the Yammie Noob podcast because, as many of you saw previously, producer Logan has joined us here in the Austin studio, and I thought, what better way to utilize his talents than a long-form podcast?
Sure. Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it. I think it'd be a fun way to explore some different topics, allow the audience to get to know me a little bit better.
Yeah, because it's like there's so many times where you want to blab a little bit, but like we keep everything so like tight and concise on the channel, like the scripted videos, the lists, everything. You need a bit of a looser format,
right.
You know? The people want to hear just the loose stuff.
Right. So you're saying this is a safe space?
This is a safe space, yes, because we're going to talk about some pretty interesting stuff today that may get a little spicy. So, on the topic of the agenda for today, we have news from the motorcycling world. We have quite a few things to discuss. We have CFMoto, of course, always making waves. We have a new brand from them we want to talk about. Damon also making a couple big waves as well, or perhaps minimizing their waves that they're making. They're sort of like slinking back into the night.
Yeah, maybe diminishing the waves to the point of non-existence, if you could say.
Yeah, some news from Ducati as well, and then we also have, of course, MotoGP news, but not in the way that you think. We're also going to then run you through our ideal 1, 2, 3 motorcycle stable with a bit of a twist on the rules for that, because we didn't just want to do, random motorcycles. Have to kind of keep it down a little bit. We also have some crazy YouTube comments and some questions as well. So without further ado, producer Logan, key us up with the first bit of news. What do we got?
Sure. So starting off strong, CFMoto, always making news. So what we're talking about today is their new CFLite brand. It's not a diet iced tea. It's not a 0-calorie soda. It's a zero excitement motorcycle. I mean, that sounds a little rude, but essentially they're trying to create a secondary brand for even more affordable, value-driven motorcycles. I think specifically kind of more in like high-volume commuter countries, the Philippines, Mexico, Central America, things like that. But the question I want to pose to you is like, do you think this devalues CFMoto, right? Like if you already think of CFMoto as being sort of the great value motorcycle brand here in the States, even if these CFLite brands aren't going to be sold here, do you think even knowing of their existence outside of the U.S. market like devalues the CFMoto brand even further?
I think it's a strange move to just not make it a CFMoto. Honda sells these kind of motorcycles in Mexico and Brazil and the Philippines by the boatloads. Like they can't ship them fast enough. These sort of little humble like 130s and 140s, these kind of oddball displacements we don't see in the U.S. And there's other brands like CG or Hero. So I don't know why CFMoto just didn't lean into like, just call it a CFMoto, because in a lot of those places, we think of it as a great value brand, but
right.
Like that's a nice motorcycle,
Sure.
For a lot of countries, like a Ninja 400 is like, that's a borderline super bike,
right.
And it's hard
That's a finisher bike. That's not a starter bike.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a finisher. But it really is, it's an aspirational good for a lot of these people. And maybe the way that they set it up is where it's like, you start on a CFLite and then you can dream for the CFMoto type of thing. That could be interesting.
Yeah, it could be that, or it could be, just trying to create more separation in other markets of being like, where Honda, Yamaha, they can sell the 125s, even KTM's got, the Duke 200, like they've got enough brand presence where they can sell those little bikes in other countries, and it has no effect in the way we perceive them in, more Western countries.
Yeah, no.
So maybe with CFMoto, because clearly this is like a deliberate strategy if they're creating an entirely separate brand, maybe have some separation between those small, like they don't want US based riders to really like see them as that affordable, like kind of high volume mass produced company. So I don't know, I just think it's interesting.
So they're like these little dual sport, tiny displacement, like sub $4,000 type of motorcycles.
Yeah, so
right?
I got a couple listed here. CFLite 250 NK, so that's going to be like the 450 NK that we've got here. 250 cc, 25 horsepower, 16 foot-pounds. The price in Mexico is $57,000. 57,000. It's not dollars. That's why it's confusing.
It's pesos.
57,000 pesos, which comes out to like a little under $3,000, I think, when I did the math.
I was gonna say 57 G's for the CFMoto. I was like, that's V4R money. That's top shelf Ducati money.
Pesos. That's
So a little under $3,000 for the CFLite 250 NK.
Right.
That's a pretty good deal. I think, what's funny is a lot of these motorcycles I feel like maybe could work in the American market, but then I also remember the absolute failure of the Duke 200.
Right.
Like, the Duke 200 was such a flop here, but I think it's because of how it was positioned in the lineup. You went to KTM, it's like Duke 200, 390. You're like, well, why would I ever buy the 200?
Right, just save $500 or $700 or whatever.
But if the price delta is like $3,000, or $2,000, then it's all of a sudden like, maybe I should consider the 250.
At the rate we're going to, like, beginner bikes are pushing $7,000 or more, and depending on the models, obviously.
No, I mean, most of them, right? Like, I mean, out the door easily.
On like the newer gen stuff, so if you think of like the R3 is still close to 5,000, I think, give or take, but that's kind of that older gen feel compared to some of the other stuff. But yeah, maybe it'll be like the Honda XR 150, where it's very, very separate of what we'd expect in like a new beginner bike, but it's priced so bizarrely competitively that you can't fault it. You know what I mean?
I mean, the reason they can is because that's one of those bikes that sell in Mexico and Brazil, and it's like the most humble little motorcycle. It's a 150 air-cooled, like just everything you need, nothing you don't.
Yeah.
And that's what, like $2,900, right? The
XR?
It's
like a little under 3,000.
We featured it in one of the list videos, right? Where it was like absolute crazy bargains or whatever, like a brand new bikes. I wonder if the CFLite will come out here in the U.S. They're not planning on it,
I'm not sure. Right now it says no immediate plans for distribution in the U.K. or Europe. It says nothing about the United States. But I guess we'll see. 'Cause they've also got the 250 SR Lite, which is a sport bike like the 450 SS. It's probably got I'm sure they had to make some concessions in terms of the fancy LED lighting and like the startup sequences and stuff. I'm not sure if we've got those on the 250s, but it'd be cool if they did. But
those diodes are cheap, baby. Those diodes are cheap. They could do it.
And then they've got 230 dual sport, 21-inch front wheel, long travel suspension, priced at 1,300 pounds, which is, what is that?
Like British sterling pounds?
Yeah.
1,300?
Yeah.
They're giving them away if that's the
And it's 99,000
pesos.
Philippine pesos.
This producer Logan did not do the conversion on the exchange over here.
Well, I did, but
the dollar's being devalued so quickly that he now has to cobble together. I mean, it might be different by the time this video goes live.
They gave different currencies for each bike, so it's a little complicated, but very, very cheap, very inexpensive, I think is the point.
This is Logan's segue to talk about why we need to go back to the gold standard.
Yeah,
Put the gold bars back in Fort Knox, baby.
Well, it's silver. Everyone's talking about silver now.
Oh,
that's the best
that's true.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm still on the crypto game, so as long as my crypto stays going up, I'm not going to mess with silver.
I don't legitimately believe you own any crypto.
You don't know me at all, man.
That's true.
So speaking of the crypto market, another story I thought was interesting that maybe you could shed some light on for me, given your economics background. So Damon, your favorite vaporware company, known for producing
one bike, right?
One
prototype. I'm like literally one unit of bike.
I was gonna say they're known more for producing like graphics that you can use for like a desktop background, like just really futuristic sci-fi kind of like Tron, e-bike, crazy stuff. But so I guess rumor has it, they're facing potential delisting from the NASDAQ stock market.
What a sign of confidence.
Due to a significant decline in its share price and concerns over shareholder dilution.
Nothing says we're providing real value like your share price just being delisted, being so low that the NASDAQ is like, we got to take you off. Yeah. I'm surprised they were ever listed in the first place, honestly. I didn't know they were public. I didn't know that they were like, you could buy Damon stock, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that you could purchase stock in a company or get like public interest in a company that literally produces nothing. That's just like a brand. That's just like an idea or a name.
That's VC though, baby. Like that. I mean, that's the whole thing where you come up with an idea, you build enough hype around it, and then you just get dummies with too much money to put money into it because their whole thing is like, well, if 1% of my 100 bets work out, then I'll be a billionaire. And that's the whole goal, right? I don't know who looked at their pitch deck or their, docs and were like, this looks great. Right. Yeah, like this is totally going to work.
I'm in.
I guarantee you all the investors, they can't be real motorcycle people, right? Because I feel like a real motorcyclist, I say real motorcyclist, a very straw man of me, but like an authentic motorcyclist will look at it and be like, you're never going to sell this. Like, what is this,
I mean, there's so many of those companies. I think a few months back, we saw one that was like AI-powered personal helicopter that you can buy and ride around.
Shut up,
it's like,
dude.
no one's going to buy this. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, I don't care if signing up for the Kickstarter gets me like my name list printed on some like,
you get a sticker.
Yeah, or a sticker.
That's the grift, right? It's like there's this whole company that they like make you believe is real.
Yeah,
they're just selling you stickers.
Right.
Yeah,
stickers in a dream.
Stickers in a dream. Yeah, you sign up for the $100, like early founder pack or whatever, and you just get the sticker. That's
right.
and then they walk away with all the cash.
Right.
Which is what Damon's basically done. Right. Like they raised. Was it 16 million? Right. I think something like that.
Yeah. 16.5 million through a public offering in March 2025. Damon has yet to deliver a single motorcycle and is currently only has one running prototype.
Oh my God. But these guys have been around for years and years, right? Like,
yeah, I
think I remember doing stories about them here on the channel, like as early as 2020, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember a lot of comments were like, "Have you seen Damon? Have you seen Damon?" And I always was like, "This looks like vaporware. Like, looks like nonsense."
Yeah. I mean, at least say what you will about like Boss Haas or like the Dodge Tomahawk or these weird.
Those places are in business, man.
Yeah, and they at least produce motorcycles to some extent.
It's like six per year, but they make them.
But they're out there, and so it's funny that. Yeah, those companies exist in the same sort of realm of these like kind of fantasy bikes that people love to talk about when if we mention anything on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, but what about Damon? What about Bassa? But at least those ones actually, are in the flesh. It says Damon's future hinges on its ability to stabilize its financial situation, restore investor confidence, and deliver on its production promises.
So its future is fastly closing.
Essentially
it has no future then.
Essentially, it needs to become a real for-profit business that makes real products.
Don't you love how they raised all that money without that being a prerequisite?
It's kind of cool. It's inspiring, if anything.
It is inspiring, right? Like you could do anything in this world.
Yeah, right.
Like VC and startup, to me, having worked in a couple of them in the past, it's like it's all about a confidence game. That's all it is. Like you just need the lead guy, your founder or your CEO, whoever that is, to go there and like just proselytize the good word. It's like a religion. You're basically just convincing people to like be swept up in the cult of it, right? How many of these grifts have we seen the past 10, 15 years? WeWork, Theranos, and now we count Damon.
Hawk2A coin.
Yeah, Hawk2A. I mean, that's a whole separate thing where like you can just create a security out of nowhere, which is crazy. The other thing here that really doesn't instill confidence is like the several changes in leadership, which is like one guy, the CEO and founder, Jay Girard, and then Amber Spencer, and then co-founder Dominique Kwong returned as an interim CEO. Nothing says that you don't have your shit together as like the leadership at the top like doesn't stay or isn't stable or doesn't have a steady hand. It's like,
especially in positions like that, where if you're like hired on as a CEO of what's supposed to be this massive startup company, you would think that would come with pretty competitive salary or some sort of stock. Like you think it would be worth sticking out certain hardships. Obviously there's gonna be hardships, but if it's like 5 people are like, nah, I'm out.
It's one of two things, I think, in the startup world. It's like either they start and they're like, it's a very high salary, like taking a lot of money in, like, maybe doing some stuff with the investor funds that may not be legal, or it's like the true believer that takes like no money, and he's like living as frugally as possible, like pays all of his people first. And those are the companies usually do better than this. So, not to say that we're dancing on Damon's grave, but I mean, I kind of call this from a mile away.
You know who should be the new CEO of Damon?
Who?
Johan Zeitz.
The one and only, man. Damon, I think Livewire is going to befall a similar fate, honestly.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Zeitz is like a chairperson for that too, I think, right? I mean, it's the whole thing, so it's like...
It's not going to go well.
And I don't want to talk. We don't need to talk about that. But speaking of Harley Davidson...
What do you got for me?
Sort of a worlds colliding this moment. We got Harley Davidson enjoyer,
Yes.
racing enjoyer,
Yes.
and now the two shall collide even further than the King of the Bagger series. MotoGP has announced a new bagger racing series. Pretty sick, right? Something you're excited for?
So I heard about this, and perhaps it's a little what's the word? Unsavory for me to say it, but we talked about it pre-stream. It does feel like the Special Olympics a little bit, right?
Little bit.
where it's like, okay, so Harley couldn't race with the big boys.
Right.
You got to have their own special type of race for them to do their thing, because it wouldn't be fair for them to compete with
Right.
everybody else. And it's embarrassing, Logan. I'm not going to lie. Like as a racing fan, as an American, an immigrant, some might say not a real American in our current political environment, right? Not corn-fed like yourself, you know what I mean?
Not like myself.
I think it's embarrassing as an American that we
Yeah.
are. That's the only way that Liberty Media and Dorna see a path forward to like get more
Bring 'em in,
Americans.
yeah.
How do you feel about it as a guy who's like basically just you like some Harleys but not really a racing guy?
Yeah, I mean, it seems more like a spectacle or a novelty than like a truly like racer first championship pursuant ecosystem, right? Like it seems like a place for people to go and have a good time, drink some beers, see some fast bikes go by. Like it seems like a spectacle or a novelty, like something you would go see Monster Jam or whatever, and like for that I think it's cool, and it's cool to see what these manufacturers and what these teams can do to make these bikes as fast as possible. But at the end of the day, it is a Harley Davidson. Like that's not really what it's for. And yeah, it's fun in that way, and I see the appeal for a lot of people. But is it like a real thing? I don't know. It doesn't.
I totally agree. It feels very like exhibitionist type
Yeah.
of thing, where it's like it's just let's see what these bikes could do, and to sort of say it's like some sort of like like World Cup or professional thing. It's literally a spec series on just Harleys. So it's kind of similar to some of the lower categories that have like spec series around like R7s or other, racing series like that. But yeah, to your point, they're not designed to do that. And also in the King of the Baggers here in Moto America, it's Harley versus Indian. So the competition is very fierce, and both companies keep trying to do stuff. And it's really crazy because those bikes year over year, the lap times come down a lot because, in MotoGP, it is the most marginal fractional improvements that you see year over year, like tenths of seconds,
Right.
Because no one's ever professionally raced baggers before and you can
Right.
do whatever you want. It's like year over year, it's like, they found 5 seconds. They found
Right.
6 seconds. These bikes are almost as fast as super sport bikes now, which is insane because they weigh 600 pounds.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's for Americans to try to watch MotoGP more. But the thing that gets me a little scared about it is they tried this at Coda this year. They did like a King of the Baggers, like MotoGP co-branded thing. Nobody who was there for MotoGP really watched it. So again, it says to me that the international audience probably doesn't have a huge interest in it, and the American audience won't cross over to GP by watching baggers.
Sure.
I don't think so.
I mean, it seems like, some kind of traditional Harley riders that maybe like watch NASCAR and stuff, like they'll tune it on. But also, I think if it requires a special like subscription to watch,
It will.
and all that stuff, like I don't think that kind of Harley Davidson customer base is like that eager to watch this kind of niche new racing series. And yeah, I think the regular GP fans probably won't care all that much, and it'll just kind of be this like weird thing that maybe lasts for, I don't know if they have some like contract length or what, but right now I could see it lasting like one season.
Yeah, a year or two, and kind of seeing how it goes. I could see that, and I kind of feel like it's like people already balk at like paying I think it's like $150 or $200 a year for MotoGP, and I feel like you get a lot of value because you get every single race, every single practice session, and if you do the cost per month, it's less than $20 a month for all that content. For me, a good deal.
Sure.
But a lot of people are like, that's crazy, I would never pay that. Understand. So I think what they're trying to do maybe is like they're trying to get professional broadcasting over the baggers so that they could then cross-post to social media, because bagger content does crazy good on social media. And maybe that's the play where it's like you're going to lose money on this, and you're going to lose you're not really building fans to buy subscriptions over here. You're building more awareness on social media through like Because I guarantee
Yeah,
you,
like
because the type of racing that happens in baggers, like whenever there's like a high side, like a 600-pound motorcycle, it is violent. It is
Yeah, I'm sure,
crazy,
right.
you know? It's very different than when a MotoGP bike crashes. And the weirdest crashes happen in bagger racing because the level is different than MotoGP. And the bikes, like, they leak fluid everywhere. People online derisively call it King of the Leakers.
That's
Because
fine, yeah.
literally, like, 6 guys will start, only 2 will finish the race.
Right.
Over, like, a 6-lap sprint. It's not even, like, a full distance
Right,
thing.
right.
So, I don't know. I hope that it just gets more publicity for GP by way of the short form content that they'll probably produce, but I don't see the crossover happening.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's serving more as like a marketing strategy
Yeah.
for GP versus its own thing.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it that way, but that makes a lot of sense.
I make a lot of sense, dude. My brain is huge and has good opinions inside
Cool.
of it.
I can tell.
Yeah. So, MotoGP, Ducati, that leads us to our last bit of news, right?
Yes. The V2?
Yes.
Yes.
The new 890 going in all kinds of different bikes, right?
Yeah, so essentially, Ducati's like V2 lineup is all going to use the new 890 twin, lighter, about as powerful as the outgoing one in the Desert X and the Monster.
If you talk about the old Super
know.
Quattro versus the new V2, you're going to get everybody all worked up in the comments.
I know. I'm not going to do that.
What's funny, though, is have you ever looked at the old V2 and the new V2 side by side?
I mean, I'm sure I've seen the infographics like when they first announced the engine, but not closely enough to.
So at first, when the new V2 came out, I was like, oh, it looks pretty good. You know, I was like, oh, the exhaust is kind of weird in the back. It's pretty good. I was like, okay, like it's lightweight. It's a cool bike. I think I understood finally what the commenters are all butthurt about because the old V2 is like a beautiful machine. It's a single-sided swing arm, the stumpy tail, the exhaust is routed correctly, and like just like that classic like Super Quattro engine. I got a little emotional. I was like, oh man, like it did get a little different, you know? And I wonder if these new generations of Monsters and Desert X's, because like they don't have the Desmos anymore.
Right.
They're getting like very non-Ducati, if that makes sense, which makes them more reliable and
Right.
makes them a little better. But I don't know. Do you feel that they're kind of losing that specialness?
It's hard to say because I was thinking too, like when I was doing the prep for this podcast, and I was poking around on Ducati's website, and I kind of had this moment where I was like, it is kind of weird that the Monster even still exists.
Right.
You know, it feels like a product of a bygone era.
Yeah.
And even though it, keeps being made and it is, a kind of updated version and stuff, it is kind of like a old school bike in a way. Those kind of like 90s kind of bulbous naked bikes, like the early, the SV650 and stuff that came after the Monster.
Well, the new one did away with the trellis frame. It did away with the gas tank shape, and the headlight just looks like a Yamaha product. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many times I've seen a new Monster, and I just think it's an MT bike. And that's why, like, they did that, and now they did the 890 that's, like, more of like a normal engine. I don't know. I've seen over the last 10 years, 15 years, Ducati gets less bespoke and it turns into a better motorcycle, but it just kind of becomes like anything else,
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it. And yeah, maybe the new engine in the Monster is like the final straw for it, like existing in this kind of previous time. As for the Desert X, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that bike's already kind of weird to me. Like it looks kind of cool, but I'm like, I don't know. Like I've never had like this, because that feels like kind of like not a Ducati in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
because
the
it's just
styling
not-
is so different.
Yeah,
it
it's-
doesn't really look like a Ducati. And yeah, that's the one that I feel least, I guess, upset that they put like a motor that doesn't have Desmos in it with the
Right.
dual-sided swing arm. And like, I'm just like, it's so utilitarian in its nature. I'm like, yeah, make it as reliable and good as possible.
Right.
Like the Desert X does not need Desmos and a single-sided swing
Yeah,
arm,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's not an MV Agusta for God's sake,
Right.
because they make adventure bikes that make no sense. But yeah, I don't know. Like to your point, there's going to be a world in which the Monster and the Street Fighter V2 have the same engine. And I'm like, what is the difference between those two motorcycles? One is a little more track oriented and the other's more of like the entry level Ducati.
Right.
The price delta is maybe a couple grand, but they have the same engine and the same state of tune.
Right.
That's a bit weird. I'm like, why does that even exist?
Yeah.
And why won't they bring back the Desert Sled? Those are the real questions.
I mean, at that rate, yeah. If the Street Fighter V2 versus the Monster with the new engine. And it's like you could almost think of that's pushing like MT09 XSR 900 like dichotomy. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah, okay.
Where one's,
well, now I could make sense of it. Yeah, actually, yeah.
Where one's, you know, the sporty, naked, aggressively styled naked bike. One's a little bit more, you know, retro styled, a little bit more like roadstery, hipster coded, if you will.
A little bit, yeah. But they changed that in the new Monster where they lightened it up by like 40 pounds, and then they did away with the trellis frame, which was the big deal. And it stopped, in my opinion, stopped being that kind of retro coded bike, like you said. It's now very much like look at the sporty things you can do with it. And I'm like, well, the Street Fighter V2, you did the same damn thing with it, you know? So I don't get it.
Yeah, maybe they'll keep it around for a little bit, and then it'll go to the same, behind the same shed where they took the Super Sport.
Yeah. The Super Sport was interesting because they just mushed that with the new V2. That's basically what they did. And they just like dropped one bike off their lineup, which I thought it's smart, you know? The Scrambler lineup, they did the same thing where they only sell like, I think 3 Scrambler variants. They used to have like 6.
Yeah, they used to have a ton. They had that like this 62.
Yeah, they had the 62. They had the Desert Sled, like the full throttle, the 1200, like that, or the 1100, all kinds of Scrambler models.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how Ducati fares putting their 890 in a bunch of different platforms. But Logan, why don't we move on to the 1, 2, 3 bike stable?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Alrighty, everybody. So this is our 1, 2, and 3 bike stable. I thought this would be fun to do because you guys need to get to know producer Logan a little bit better. But we have a bit of a rule set for this one. We wanted to do $20,000 total. So you pick 1 bike, 2 bike, or 3 bike. You have a $20,000 budget. That's it. And then you can't pick any bike you currently own or have owned. Those are the only rules.
So you got a lot of limitations in that.
I actually do, yeah.
Because you included the giveaway bikes and bikes you've owned?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I really had to pull some crazy ones here. I chose with the heart.
Just like all Harley Davidsons?
I only chose Pan Americas. Every single one was just different trims of Pan America. Logan, why don't you kick us off? What's your 1 bike? If you had to have just 1 bike, $20,000 cap, and you haven't owned one, what would you pick?
Do you want to take a guess?
I'm going to say Pan America.
Yeah, Pan America.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I guessed right.
Yeah, so...
Tell me why.
1 bike, Pan America, $20,000. Well, first off, $20,000 is kind of... It's like hard to even think about spending $20,000 like at one time. And then you get in this like you can't get super crazy like Ducatis and stuff for $20,000 really. So you can't go like, you know, ball out in this crazy bike with $20,000. That's still kind of in the realm of like pretty relatively accessible bikes. I'm rambling, but the point being, I wanted something that was, you know, could kind of check a lot of boxes. And the Pan America, strangely, from Harley Davidson is pretty value driven. Like you do get a lot of bike for $20,000.
What's the MSRP?
I think it's like 20,000. I think it was like 19,900 or something.
Oh wow! So you're going like that's it. You got no room for accessories. Nothing. That's just the bike.
Just the bike. Not gonna throw the whole Screaming Eagle catalog at it.
So you're not getting the CVO.
I forgot they even made that. No, definitely not gonna do that. CVO stands for. I'm not good enough at improv of that. But next time on the next podcast, I'll have a funny acronym for what CVO actually means. But yeah, I mean, and first off, I like a bigger bike. So a lot of people are like, Pan America's big, blah, 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 is big. I like a bigger bike, especially for the type of riding I like to do. I like a bike with some presence, some heft to it. I'm not a huge guy, but I'm a bigger, you know, I'm like 5'11" or whatever. And I don't like feeling huge on a bike, especially one that I'm riding for a lot of longer distances at higher speeds, like especially up here in hill country, getting like blown around on like a little 400-pound bike. You know, that's not really my style. And so Pan America is like, what, 550 pounds, give or take, which is like literally as much as my Sportster weighs. Or, I mean, maybe my Sportster weighs a little bit less, but it's like...
Carries the weight so differently.
I know.
I had to shuffle Logan's Sportster around because we were moving into like the storage unit. It's so dense.
Yeah,
it just feels like a block of just solid metal. That's all
American
it is.
American steel,
That's
baby.
It, bro. American iron, one would say.
American iron. And so, yeah, Pan America... And because like I don't want to do any crazy off-roading stuff really, like but like if I can slide it around on some dirt, break the rear wheel loose a little bit, like that's plenty for me, and trundle over some basic basic stuff. And yeah, 150 horsepower is like fun, but not crazy, especially for a bike that was that heavy. And I like V twins. Like that's something I still would like you to guess in some of my next stable picks. But spoiler alert, I don't think I have anything beyond like twins, either V twins or parallel twins. I just like engines like that that are punchy and fun.
I don't have any multi-cylinder bikes. Well, no, I have one multi-cylinder, but it's everything else is twins, or more or less.
Yeah. Okay.
But no multi-cylinders.
Yeah.
So you've never ridden a Pan Am, huh?
I haven't. I'd like to though.
They're surprisingly good.
Yeah.
The thing that I thought about when I rode it, I was like, this kind of feels like a KTM. Like it kind of had like Super Duke energy. Like it rips pretty damn good. Like it's got a good amount of juice on tap.
Yeah.
And it felt very modern. I say this all the time about the Pan Am. I'm like, it's crazy they can just build that. Like the company that keeps
it's
building
like they can do it and they choose not to.
Yeah, like they just out of nowhere, there's like, of course we can build it. I'm like, why don't you? Like, why don't you try? Like, it's a bit frustrating.
And that's why I think it's cool too, because it's I can't think of an analogy really, but it'd be like, it's like when Ducati tried to make a cruiser in like the 70s or 80s, and it was just like absolute ass, and same like BMW tried to make not the new like R18 or whatever, they tried to make this 1200cc like boxer cruiser thing in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and it's just like so bad. And so the fact that like Harley Davidson can go the other way kind of and make, being known for making these big air-cooled cruisers and make this like kind of ripper adventure bike is like kind of cool, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's genuinely, I don't think it's quite as good as some of the other stuff in the category, but it's easily like 95% as good.
Yeah.
Like it gives up just that last bit.
Especially because when you take in consideration like the price, like I don't remember like off the top of my head, but I feel like a R13 GS or whatever, if you could even find like a base model, is probably either the same or a little bit more expensive, but they're always all kitted out.
No, 1300 GS, that's like a $30,000 bike,
right?
Yeah.
So that was a big, not that I really wanted a GS either, but taking into consideration like the price, I felt like it was a good.
But you were telling me that you feel like if you were to ride like an air-cooled GS, you're like might fall in love with it a little bit.
I think so.
It seems like your speed.
Yeah, an air-cooled one for sure. Something about a liquid-cooled boxer engine on a motorcycle is just really silly. You know what I mean? It's like, why is it a boxer engine if it's liquid-cooled? But I think the air-cooled ones would be cool of sort of that, utilitarian nature and kind of heritage thing. And if they didn't sound so boring and like farm-like, I think that would be a different story. That's kind of the main thing of not even kind of pursuing one is like, I'm like, dude, they sound so bad. And they sound like worse with a pipe. I don't know if that's like mean to say, but like they sound like really kind of bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the GS was like not out of the question. And I considered like an older one for some of the later picks.
Yeah.
But then that's too many questions on like, and people list their like old BMW stuff like way too high. So I couldn't really gauge.
Yeah.
And it just skewed the whole assignment. So I did no GS.
All right.
What's your one bike?
My one bike. Take a guess.
Okay. So something you haven't owned, hasn't been a giveaway. Did you spend the whole 20?
No, I had it left over and I needed to.
Okay. So it's something you're going to have to change?
Something I'll have to fix probably.
Okay. Oh, God. 916.
No, that's crazy. That's my one bike. No, I picked the KTM 890 SMT.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you going to have to fix?
Everything. Camshafts, electronics.
Oh, so
you I budgeted in
like a contingency
Yeah,
fund.
I budgeted in a couple grand just to keep in a slush fund as things break on this bike because it eventually will.
Yeah.
Because I have the Touareg right now, so I couldn't pick another Touareg. And I didn't want to do a T7. I've never owned a T7, but I was like, I don't know. I wanted to try something different just because, I think the 890 SMT really ticks off a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah, for sure.
You can tour with it. It's still, sporty enough to where you can do, a lot with it. Easily chuck it at a track day, no problem. The bones of it are reasonably good. And, I'm just, using that bike, I'm just choosing to not go off-road in general. I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to go off-road. I'm only going to focus on street sport and track a little bit, touring. I don't know. It just sounds like a fun time. It's almost like a sport touring supermoto thing. And it's very unique. I don't think there's any bike quite like the 890 SMT.
Yeah. I would agree, and I think we talked about it the other day too. So I should have guessed. Should have guessed a little better, but yeah, it's kind of in a unique position. It's kind of like before the hyper motards got became these like huge sport touring things, you know, like a 90s hyper motard that's like, or excuse me, multistrada. Back before the multistradas got so huge, and like back when they were like weird little like kind of sporty touring things, you know?
They were just like sport bikes on stilts. They were just raised up, and that's all you did with them, you know? And that distance to the front wheel gives you that supermoto feel, and it just gives you more suspension travel and just lets you like, you're like, maybe I can jump this thing. Maybe I can just like smash it into a pothole. And I think it'd be a lot of fun. And yeah, I just like, I thought about the T7, like I said, but the 890 has way more panache, way more like just... My bikes have to do something. I mean, I only own like stupid European bikes, so like I had to do a little something different.
And if you had $20,000 and you got a T7, like it's like,
it's like, what,
I mean, granted, your options are a lot more limited because of the stipulations of the assignment. But it's like, why do you spend 20 grand? Why do you get a T7?
For a while there, T7s were 20 grand out the door because all the dealer markups and the craziness during COVID. Yeah, because nobody could get them. I mean, dealers were trying to charge like 18 grand out the door for a T7. And a lot of dummies like in Utah and Colorado are like, I'll pay for it. I'm like, dude, this is a $10,000 bike, you know?
If you spent $18,000 on a T7,
seek help.
Sorry. Because, when I bought the Transalp, I was kind of cross-shopping the different Japanese middleweight adventure bikes. And I think it was there's one for like 13,000 or something.
Yeah.
But I was still like, nah, I don't want to pay that.
Yeah. It's a bit spicy for a T7. But yeah, it gives me a little bit left over to, you know, as camshafts fail, as electronics fail, like knowing the life cycle of that bike's probably going to be a bit rough, you know?
Throw some power parts at it.
Throw some power parts at it, baby, you know, call it a day. My alternate choice, I just wanted to add this in there, was the Desert X. It very closely pushes that 20K budget because I think it's like 18 or 17, 9 or something. But I love the Desert X, and I've never owned one, so I could theoretically choose that one. But I wanted to choose like my whole thing was I'm going to choose dumb bikes that I just want with my heart.
That's cool. I respect it.
Yeah. Okay, so 2 bikes. This one gets a little more interesting because like you don't need a bike that does it all, right? But you could choose whether you have like a comfortable daily and like a crazy bike, or like 2 pretty decent bikes.
Right.
So I feel like I'm just gonna take a guess at one of them. I think you picked a Sportster for one of them.
You can't.
You can't because you already own one. That's right. You picked a Guzzi for one of them.
I didn't. No.
Okay. What'd you get?
So I chose Scrambler 1200, Triumph Scrambler 1200, and a Tuono 660.
Interesting.
So that required, obviously, no one pull out your calculator. I pulled up Cycle Trader. I looked at some stuff. You can find decently used of each of those for like right under $10,000. So don't fact check me. But yeah, so Scrambler obviously can do a little bit of scrambling, but also has that kind of character that I like in motorcycles, you know, kind of old school vibe, grunty twin. And then the Tuono is sort of just like my oddball pick. I was like, well, I don't really need an off-road. I wouldn't get an adventure bike and a Scrambler. No offense, as someone that has both those. And I'm like, well, I don't want a Scrambler and like a different kind of vintage or old school cruiser or roadster type of thing. And I'm not big on, you know, fully fared sport bikes. And so I was like, I'll get like a half fared kind of naked bike thing. And yeah, like I like character and, you know, at the expense of, and this isn't my money. This is $20,000, right? If
it was bestowed upon you.
Yeah, if it was my money, I would probably buy a Japanese bike, but it's not. It's fake money. So I got the Scrambler, and the Tuono, I think, would be kind of a good balance of, you know, sporty and characterful, kind of more utilitarian and characterful. But
I think it speaks a lot to the way you ride motorcycles and what you want out of them, that both of yours are like road registered bikes and would be like road bike. Because like the first thing I think of when I think of like multi-bike stables, I'm like, all right, what like ratted out POS unregistered thing can I get either on road or off road? Because now I know I'm like, well, I could have one bike that just does on road, but then I need to have something like crazy. You gotta have some like hard drugs, you know?
Yeah.
Both your choices are pretty sensible. You know, the Scrambler and the Tuono is very sensible.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm just being realistic. Like, I don't have a truck, Like if I had, like, so I'm not gonna buy an
okay.
unregistered like
That makes sense.
Like I'm not gonna buy
Yeah.
like a 2-stroke dirt bike
That
without
makes
a
sense.
truck, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because I only gave you 20 grand. I didn't give you 20 grand in
Yeah,
a truck.
right.
Yeah.
And so that carried some weight on the decision, and then yeah, just something I can use. Like I don't like having stuff I don't use. Like
Yeah.
and even if I want it, even I did have a truck, and I'm like, I want to get into off-road riding. How often am I realistically gonna do it? You know, I got a wife, I got pets at home, I got stuff I got to do. How often am I gonna be hauling bikes out to the desert or wherever?
Yeah.
No matter how fun that would be, I don't like having things I don't use. It makes me feel like wasteful. So
That's very smart. You already thought of that because, like, I lived that with my dirt bikes, and then I had that realization. Where I was like, "Wow, I never use these things."
Yeah.
So I was like, "I should probably just get rid of them." And I don't really miss them, to be honest. Like,
Right.
because I mean, Texas is also a place where like you can't just like jump on some trails and have some fun. Like, it's
Right, you
pretty
gotta, like,
limited.
get out there.
Yeah, you got to really get out there.
So yeah, what about you?
Well, funny you should say. My first bike is a Triumph Scrambler 1200 XE.
nice. Cool.
That's why I made that face when you said yours,
Yeah.
because I was like, God damn it, you know? It's like that bike to me is my Scrambler and my Touareg all wrapped up into one and somehow cooler than both. Like, it's a bike that I've always wanted, but because I already own
Right.
two bikes that can do basically all of it, like, it doesn't make any sense. And it would be really dumb for me to like trade two bikes I adore for one bike that I'm like, oh, I really like it, you know?
Right.
So I'm probably never going to own one, but it's a great motorcycle. Like, the 1200 XC is amazing. Like, it gives you, like, you just sound so cheesy saying it, but like you really do just want to like slap on like a leather bag in the back and just like hit the road, you know? Like, it's so like romantic and interesting, and the 1200 is like so velvety and like just like, oh, it's got a great bark to it. The dash on that bike sucks ass though.
Yeah.
They should have just put like the classic, just like analog speedo would have been awesome, but they did like it's the last generation Triumph like round dash. It's like so laggy and crappy. Like, it's just not great. That's the only thing I don't like about that bike. Everything else was just like mint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, it's like you go on Triumph's website or you look at the pictures, and it's like you throw on the 3/4 helmet,
Dude,
the
yeah.
neck gaiter like pulled up over
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
don't
yeah,
get
yeah.
dusty, and the Red Wing boots, and you just hit the open road searching for
You
meaning.
you feel like you could do it with it, you know?
Yeah.
And the coolest thing is, like, it is a beefcake bike. So
Yeah.
like you said, it has
Yeah.
presence to it. It feels like a real full-sized big boy bike. It's got lots of suspension travel. I think it has a 21 up front. So like if you really wanted to kind of, it can do some more serious off-roading,
Right.
more than I'm capable of doing, which is cool. So yeah, XE, like, cool. I bought mine brand new on here. I put $15,295 for the price. So I was like, all right, I don't have much money to play with. So my second bike, take a guess. What do you think I got for my
so you
second
got like
motorcycle?
4,000, but and you haven't owned one. Sportster.
No. I said $4,700 budgeted for a Japanese 600 class rat bike for the track.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
good too.
So like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've owned a ZX6 Gixxer. I've never owned, well, I've owned an R6 for the giveaway. So I'd have to get a CBR 600, which is not ideal, but that's the one I'd have to get. And yeah, it's like, for me, I got to go fast. Like, it's
Yeah.
just part of my identity, I guess, at this point. And if I have two motorcycles, one of them has to be dedicated to like going properly fast.
that's
And that
fair.
way, like, it helps control me a little bit. And it's like, I can ride the 1200 on road and just enjoy my life, you know, just be Mr. Cool Guy, Steve McQueen with the neck
Yeah,
gaiter.
right.
And then, yeah, on the weekends, just like load the bike up and go rip some laps.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good pick for sure.
Yeah, that's my idea. All right, 3 bikes.
3 bikes. Yeah.
3 bikes opens up a lot of possibilities, and I feel like mine was pretty unhinged, and I'm
Yeah.
excited to tell you about them. But what were you thinking with 3 motorcycles and 20 grand?
Again, I was trying to be relatively sensible and just getting a little bit of everything.
Boring.
but while staying true to shit that actually appeals to me, right? Not
Yeah.
just like specs, best value, whatever. I got no SV650 on my list. But I do have.
You said that as a point of pride.
No,
You're
I just
like,
mean-
I ain't bought no fucking SV650s,
No, it's a great bike,
bro.
but I like stuff that less people have and whatever, you know. It's
Yeah.
a hipster. I can't. Sorry, I keep swearing. Sorry, Josh, if you got to bleep those. So my first bike, I have to double check actually because I had to delete them off my thing. So 3 bikes. First one, DRZ 400.
Okay. Okay.
Because spreading 20 grand across 3 bikes, not a ton of money going around. You can find those like $4,500 in
All day.
great condition
All
all
day.
day, or use serviceable condition.
Yeah.
Right? The few used DRZs are in great condition.
No. They're not. DRZ people, yeah, they're not going to take care
Right,
of bikes.
because the dads have the DR650s and the unhinged youths have the 400. But so DRZ 400, probably S, not the SM, just because I got other street bikes on here.
Yeah.
Just do some light off roading, pop some
sport,
wheelies,
bop around. Yeah. Sweet.
The 3x3 mod.
Yeah.
Airbox mod. Dyno tune jet kit.
Yep. All the classics.
FMF power bomb exhaust. Graphics kit. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's first bike. Second bike. And again, we were just talking about it. Ducati Monster. I think maybe an older gen, still with the trellis frame.
Yeah. A lot of great vintages to pick from.
Yeah, there's a ton. Yeah. And the air cooled 1200 would be sick.
Molto bene.
And those are pretty affordable now. I think that also ended up in a video we did a few months back.
Was the air cooled one the biggest? Did they make a 1200 air cooled?
I think so, yeah.
Or was it 11? Or it was the
it was
big
11.
One.
Yeah,
I think it was the 11.
But
you're talking about the 2-valve Desmo air cooled. Yeah, that one's awesome. That was so sick.
So one of those would be cool. And again, I didn't want it to feel like I was gaming the system, so I don't be like, oh, I found a $3,500 monster. So I erred on the side of caution. My third bike, very affordable, inexpensive, Honda Super Cub.
Hey, okay, a scoot.
Yeah, I figured I got kind of a street bike, a kind of off-roady dual sport bike, just something that's bop around town, have a good time, let my hair down.
I didn't consider a scooter. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And again, it's something at this point in my life, I would likely not purchase with my own money. There's just so many other motorcycles to be had and to ride at this point in my life. But yeah, if I got free $20,000, I think a scooter would be fun. And I think the Super Cubs have the kind of semi-auto, sequential gearbox, so you can still kind of kick through the gears, and it feels a little bit like a motorcycle, but you can sit on it instead of on it, and probably get a little basket, take it to the HEB, get some tortillas.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun.
This guy's only been in Texas for a week, and he's already over here driving his scooter to HEB to get tortillas. Man, I love it.
It sounds sick. I see more scooters in my neighborhood than I do full-size motorcycles.
100%. Yeah.
And I'm always man, that looks pretty fun.
It's funny because Austin is. It's just a regular American city, so there's not really much public transit, and the roads are just the regular American roads.
Mm-hmm.
But there is legitimately a pretty powerful two-wheeled culture here.
Yeah.
I see tons of scoots, tons of bicycles, lots of motorcycles. I mean, that day we rode together, it was a beautiful Saturday, but how many freaking bikes did we see? So many.
Getting recognized at the gas station, the first time I ever rode out there. You getting recognized.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not even on camera. He's already getting recognized.
No, yeah, you got recognized tonight, but I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
There's actually a scooter repair shop
Yeah.
in Austin. I'm not going to say where because I don't want to dox myself.
I feel Austin, I think because there's not a great metro or public transit, it is such a great scooter town because you can just it's not a big city, so you can't just bop around the neighborhoods in a scoot. I didn't think about a scooter. That's a great idea. Yeah. I love scoots.
A T-Max, X-Max.
Oh, the big boy, the Suzuki Bergman, the Maxi. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't do.
I'd go for a two-stroke. That's what I would do for the scoot.
Yeah, you can still buy the new ones. It's the Genuine Scooter Co. or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about them or how good they are, but from what I've seen, they're supposed to be pretty good, and they're still two strokes, and you can de-restrict them, and they'll make 65 horsepower.
Yeah,
maybe not that much, but
they'll go fast though. Yeah, they'll go pretty good. Okay, you ready for my 3 bikes? Okay, so first, I would pick a Aprilia RS 250.
Cool.
I'd import one.
Nice. What's the going rate for those?
So I looked it up. Realistically, $10,000.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah, 2-stroke race bike goodness, lightweight, 250. I've never owned one. Everyone that has ever ridden one or owned one for a while says they're just fantastic, beautiful things. Just a wonderful experience. And for me, I'm okay, if I have 3 bikes, one of them can be a totally bespoke weirdo bike. It's usually have cobbled my stables together. My stable right now is the most normal it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had one really weird bike, a Turbo Hayabusa or some oddball but it's been like very. I mean, I did have a kid, so I can't be
Right.
having turbo boosas. You know,
Sure.
life kind of comes at you fast like
for
that.
now.
For now, yeah. When she's 18, then I'll go get another turbo busa. So yeah, and I wrote here.
By the time she's 18, they're gonna be making turbo boosters from the factory.
I hope so. That would be amazing. Yeah. And I said here that I was like, oh, you know, like it can be cantankerous. It can not work half the year, and it's fine because I got 2 other bikes.
Right.
So Aprilia RS252 stroke. My second motorcycle. This is a vintage that you're probably familiar with because of all the It Came From Marketplace videos.
Yeah.
I would pick from the mid 2000s a Suzuki V-Strom 1000.
Nice.
There's just way too many clean ones. Like beautiful, like completely unmolested, factory fresh with like 40,000 miles. Some old guy took care of it for like $3,500.
Yeah, I was gonna say they cost like nothing.
Yeah, so much motorcycle for the money. Like V-twin, lots of character, go tour on it. Like to me, that would be the bike I would just be like, I'm just gonna go hit the road and just do a big tour, and I'll know it'll just run forever.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, it's like a 300 IQ move. You know what I mean? It's like
Thank you.
It's like wearing the same clothes every day.
Yeah, it's
you know,
like
where
why
it's
would
like-
you change them?
Right.
You know,
It's just like optimizing efficiency, but it's like a motorcycle that you can buy for pennies on the dollar, do tons of stuff with, not worry about it getting stolen, not worry about
no one's
crashing
gonna steal
it.
that.
No insurance, costs nothing. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Don't ride without insurance.
No, but really, I mean, you're right. The insurance would be like nothing on
Yeah.
it. And yes, a lot of these have like color matched hard luggage.
Oh, yeah.
They
They bought,
like
like,
so nice.
Fully kitted out, probably from the dealership when they
Yeah.
bought them. Yeah.
Heated grips, center stands, bark busters. Like there was one that I remember we did, and I was like, this is like whoever gets this bike is like that's so nice, you know. So yeah, mid 2000s V-Strom 1000 would be sick. My last bike, this is like absolutely like stretching the budget. I'm like at the absolute limit. I only found 2 that were in this ballpark. Okay, I would get a used KTM EXCF 350. The reason I get the 350 is because I already own a Husky 500, and I felt like it'd be a little unfair for me to pick the EXCF 500 because it's basically the same bike. So I was like, okay, I'll go for the 350. The reason I would do that bike is because it's so lightweight, it's so easy to ride. So then it would give me like I can wheelie it, I can, you know, do some enduro stuff with it, just like have a goon bike.
Yeah.
You know, like a proper just goon
what?
bike.
Whoa.
What?
Goon bike?
That's what they call them. Or is it a hoon bike? It's not a gooner.
Hoon bike.
Yeah. You know, you could be a goon or a hoon on
I know,
it.
sorry.
Whichever
I'm
one
on
you
the
want.
internet.
Yeah.
I'm on the internet too much.
Terminally online.
My mind's in the gutter.
Because before this whole zeitgeist with the gooner culture, goon used to mean something different. But if we want to do the new meaning of goon, then we'll just that's okay. We'll just do that. I love that I like activated you once I said that. So yeah, just my hoon bike, Logan,
sure.
and yeah, just like a fun, you know, do whatever dirt bike, plated so you can still ride it on road, which would be good here for Texas. If I can't get one of those, I would just get a WR250.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be my stable for 3 bikes.
Because yeah, dude, the Husky and the KTM are like the service intervals crazy on those because they actually make like good power.
Yes, it's awful. Yeah, it's like hourly and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
15 hours on the motor, and you got to do stuff.
it's crazy.
And the slave cylinder goes out, and
That's what it takes to actually make power out of a dirt bike.
Yeah.
Or out of a small engine in general.
to make the dirt bike do the kind of things that the 500s can do. Yeah, of course it's gonna have maintenance out the ass. You
Right.
know. But I still believe that the Japanese are in a position to make a bike that isn't quite as high strung, but still pretty good, you know?
Yeah, for
Because,
sure.
like, yeah, sure, a street legal, like 230 pound enduro bike is great, but you could maybe make a 250 pound one that's, you know, pretty good and
Right.
has most of the benefits and, yeah, like 10,000 mile service intervals.
Right. And yeah, it makes more than like
12 horsepower.
12 horsepower, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
because
24, what is like the CRF 300 make like 25?
it's like 20. It's like
28
something,
maybe?
yeah.
I don't
The
know.
500 makes close to 50 horsepower.
Right.
It's like 48 or something. It's mighty. It's
Yeah.
very mighty. Lifts the wheel in 4th gear on power. It's great. Great bike. Yeah, that would be my stable for 3 bikes.
Cool.
All right, Logan, we've talked about our bikes long enough now. Let's transition over to the questions and comments.
Sure. So I've got a handful of comments here that I think are a lot of fun. I have a little bit of a chuckle. I'm going to read them verbatim as written, so I'm not illiterate. This is how they're written.
Okay.
Okay, so starting off, we don't need to say their username. They've probably got a family out there somewhere. Don't want to embarrass them too bad. But the comment says, new rider here. Seems like I fishtail my Busa every time is aggressively downshift, and I give up trying to rev match, at least for now, so I brake to a good RPM, then downshift so it's smoother. But I tried rev matching, but sometimes I over rev and defeat the purpose of braking and actually accelerate. So, and this is all one sentence.
No punctuation at all.
The twist at the end. that I actually accelerate, that got me. Like when I read it, I was like,
I just
that's
love
so funny.
thinking about a beginner rider, first of all on a Busa, but second of all, like trying to brake, but then just like doing everything incorrectly
Right.
and like accelerating mid corner and like fishtailing around. They're like, oh man, that's crazy. I guess I'll just give up trying to. What do they say? They gave up trying to rev match.
Right. And it's funny for how kind of poorly it was written. It paints such an accurate picture of that situation, right?
Because that's exactly what happens, right? Like if you don't rev match correctly, the rear end gets squirrely, and that's like exactly.
And like if you want to get like a little heady too, like the comment was written with the chaotic energy of the situation itself, right? So like maybe that's why it wasn't written in proper English. It's written with the same lack of control.
Yeah,
that
maybe he wrote it right
after
after it happened. He's like, I gotta tell somebody about this.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like as like you're reading like Sylvia Plath and you see her becoming crazier. This style gets crazier as she becomes actually crazy. It's like that.
That's a great comment. And I love that there's no question. He's just letting us know. Like he didn't
like,
say like, oh, how do I stop this from happening, or like, what am I doing wrong? He's just like,
he's just sharing.
This is This happens to me. So yeah, hopefully for this user, you figure out how to rev match your Busa as a new rider. But this is why we say don't start on a Busa, man. It's a lot of bike to handle.
Right,
so,
Turbo Busa.
Yeah, start on the Turbo. Turbo builds the boost. Blah blah blah. Do you want to move on to another comment, or do you want to switch over to a question?
We can do a question if you'd like.
Yeah, sure.
So this is from Ask Me About My Grom on the Yammie Noob Discord. They say, what's the most expensive bike repair / maintenance you've had to do, start to finish, getting something in tip-top shape again?
Without a doubt, the most expensive maintenance or repair I've ever had to do on a motorcycle was when I had to fix my broken Turbo Hayabusa.
3 times? 2 times?
The second time. Because the second time was when it was one of those things where it was like, oh, while we're in there, we might as well do X, Y, and Z, right? Because like the head gasket.
You got taken for a ride, man.
I should have done it myself, man. I should have shelved that motor myself, right? Because I think, so the head gasket blew on it, and I think if I remember correctly, we had to like, it's like you redo the top end basically so it sits flush again. Because like when the head gasket blows, like the metal's like warped or whatever. So you got to like redo the whole thing basically.
Right.
And so yeah, that was the case where I was like, well, if we're gonna like do all that, we might as well do pistons and rods and everything else. I think the total bill on that was like $7,000 or something like that. I mean, it was a ton of money, you know.
Right.
All for the meme. All for the meme.
All for the meme.
All for the meme. So that was the most expensive repair I've ever done on a bike. What about you?
Yeah, I've never honestly was getting, when I first got my Sportster, it was just getting new tires on it. Like,
yeah, it can be weirdly expensive, honestly.
And like it wasn't crazy expensive, but I did feel like I got taken for a ride a little bit, but it was like during COVID, and the shop was just the owner working. It was like an independent Harley Davidson shop. It was just the owner working. He was like, it was spring, like March or April. Everybody's getting their bikes out ready for the season, and it was sort of like, he was like, if you want this done like this week, it's gonna cost you like $800 or something.
For front and rear?
Front and rear.
Was that you dropping the bike off or bringing the wheels on?
Dropped the bike off.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whatever, you know, I just wanted to get it out of the way. But other than that, yeah, I've been lucky. I guess I haven't had to do anything crazy, and all basic just services. I just take care of myself. But
well, the Sportster is like super easy to work on and do stuff, and then the Transalp, unless something crazy happens, nothing major is gonna have to fix on that bike.
Yeah, for sure.
Bikes are kind of weird because at some point, if the repair is just too much,
it's just not worth it.
It's not. You just like crunch it up in a blender somewhere. You know, like why would you
shoot
repair
it with a flamethrower?
Shoot it with a flamethrower. Yeah. Like I remember the giveaway GSXR 1000 we did. We didn't know if it had transmission issues or not, and we had somebody look at it, and I was like, oh, like how much would it be to just like put a new transmission? And he's like, you just put a whole new engine in. He's like, it's cheaper to buy an entire new engine, and just because like it's all mated as one thing.
Right.
And that's what made me realize, I'm like, oh, like at some point you just throw the whole thing away and just get another one, basically, you know, because it's not worth it.
Yeah, or certain bikes, same with cars or trucks or whatever. It's like when they reach a certain age, like you just have to accept, as long as it's still rideable or drivable, you just accept it's just a piece of crap now, you
Yes.
know, and you just run it till it dies.
Yeah.
Like that was like the first motorcycle I had. Bad example. You're not supposed to do that as a new rider, buy a clapped out piece of crap. And I just ran it and it never died, but I just stopped caring about the problems.
Yeah. You want to move on to the other comment here? I think I want to read this one if you don't
go
mind.
for it.
Because it's so good.
Yeah.
So this user wrote a comment on the channel, and in all caps, I won't scream, but in all caps, he said, the R9 is just a psyop to phase out of 1,000cc superbikes on the road. Boycott the R9. So this guy's trying to start a movement.
Yeah. I mean, has started.
You're right. Yeah, he's not even trying.
I bought the t-shirt already. Okay.
This is great. So how do you want to take this comment?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this rhetoric a lot in regards to this sort of new swath of like the new generation of super sports, right? The R9, the V2S, that KTM, and yeah, people think. First, I think people think motorcycle creators and even motorcycle journalists have like a lot more like industry weight than they actually do, right? Like Yammie Noob has gotten many comments that are essentially saying, stop disparaging leader bikes. The leader bike industry is suffering.
Not the motorcycle industry. The leader bike
industry is suffering because you keep telling people they're not good street bikes. Like we've gotten many comments saying that.
Yes.
And I think this comment about the R9 is in a similar vein where it's saying, like, this person genuinely believes the more creators like yourself with, you know, large followings praise the R9, they think that's directly the reason why you can't buy a Gixxer 1000 in Europe anymore.
Yeah.
Which is like, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it like, there's this type of thinking that I really think is so pervasive where people believe that because X exists, Y cannot exist.
Right.
You know, there's this idea that it's like, if this is here, this can't be here. And it's like, well, first of all, both can be there, right? The R9's existence does not make the R1's existence naturally go away, right?
Right.
What is happening is emissions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And consumer sentiment and like a lot of factors. But it's hard for people, I think, sometimes to remember like this big multifactorial problem or situation, right? But that's all that's really happening. Like the only reason 1000s are phasing out is because they make basically no sense for most people. Despite what the GigaChat alphas tell me on YouTube,
Right.
most people are not served by owning a 1000cc motorcycle, and in fact would probably even go faster around a racetrack with an R9.
Sure,
This is a video I would love to do one day, is to put someone of average skill on an R1 and an R9 around a racetrack, and it's like, which one did you have more fun? Which one did you go faster? Which one more comfortable, right?
Then they're like a sleeper cell and they like deliberetely go slower in the R9.
Yeah. Yeah, we get, what's that guy, Crash Test Goat, to do that? Yeah, because I think he believed, maybe he wrote this comment, maybe this is his alt account and he wrote the comment, because
yeah, I think that's what I was thinking of when he made like the direct call out of like, you are responsible for manufacturers not making leader bikes anymore.
That's a lot of power I wield, honestly.
I know.
It reminds me of
actually.
whenever like Republicans on Twitter were like, are we going to pretend the Democrats can't control the weather? And I'm like, I don't know about you, but like if they can, I definitely want them in power, because like if you can control the weather, that's pretty sick. That's borderline godlike strength. You know,
it's a lot of pull for sure.
Pretty cool. All right, next question, producer Logan. What do we got?
All right, so we got from user Diesel B, also on the Yammie Noob Discord. Does having prior experience driving a manual car translate to being able to shift and start off on a bike better?
I would say 100%.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Because you like understand what the clutch is in the friction zone. You just have to retrain like foot to hand basically, and then you figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say even being like an actual good car driver, not, you know, you slept through the driver's training course and your mom lied on the amount of hours for your permit, but like an actual good driver, like I think of, you know, in terms of myself, having grown up in Michigan, driving in the snow and on the ice, and like understanding like limits of traction and like smooth application of throttle and brake and stuff. I think even that helped me with understanding motorcycles, and like being smooth with things and like being wary of losing traction and spinning out and stuff.
All those years delivering tofu down the mountain, you know, you really learned in the Michigan winters how to manage throttle. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so So manual car takes that just a step further and understanding and just understanding how a transmission works, how transmission translates power from an engine to the wheels.
Yeah.
I think that goes a long way. Having any basic mechanical understanding of like how an engine works, how a transmission works,
It's gonna help out.
how wheels spin.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
It's one of life's great mysteries.
Yeah, I think those all go a long way.
Yeah. Next
So,
comment.
yeah, this is short, and I have to read it too.
Okay.
So, comment reads: This guy's bias against Hondas, Kawasaki's, and Suzuki's really pisses me off. Just short and sweet.
I want to tell you guys. I'll tell you here on the stream. It's like, just because I don't sing the praises of your Honda, Kawasaki, or Suzuki from the highest mountaintop doesn't mean that I don't like it, doesn't mean that I'm biased against it. It just means that I just have an opinion on the bike, and I think that's okay for me to have an opinion on the bike. And honestly, there's several bikes of these manufacturers that I love.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to be really cherry picking either what videos you're watching or what sentences you say to genuinely believe you hate Hondas, Kawasaki's, and Suzuki's.
I mean, Suzuki's I do hate because of the Busa and what it did to me.
That's
And
true.
all
Well, other than that, you know.
No, well, it's funny though, because like I've seen that about Yamahas and Triumphs as well.
Yeah.
Like people are like, "Oh, this guy hates him." I'm like, "Well, they're my favorite brand, so I don't know." Yeah,
Right.
But it's like also like everyone has their favorite brands, you know.
Right.
And like I don't think I've ever said that I'm unbiased, and I'm like, oh,
Right.
like I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. I'm like, I'm just a dude with opinions,
Right.
You know, like it doesn't matter.
Because, yeah, newsflash to our viewers, objectivity does not actually exist
No,
on the internet, especially.
no, everybody's got their favorite stuff, you know.
Yeah, I got plenty of favorite stuff. That was a quick one, so we're going to do one more comment before going to a question,
Yeah.
because I think this one's funny, too. Again, unhinged format. Like, I don't know where this guy learned to write sentences, but
It's indicative
it
of
was
the American
crazy.
educational system. To be honest.
Or he could be foreign, in which case, sorry,
that's true.
Sorry for
Yeah.
being like xenophobic asshole, but
Sometimes I forget that. I'm like, wow, this guy sucks. I'm like, oh, English is like his fourth language.
but it's still funny to give someone like directions. So ask me where I learned to wheelie a motorcycle.
Where did you learn to wheelie a motorcycle?
Read a YouTube comment about it.
Oh, cool. So he's telling us
teeing
how to
up.
do it.
Yeah. Okay. To pop wheelie, you pick the gear you want to wheelie in and go up one gear above the gear. Because the sentence is so unhinged. To pop wheelie, you pick the gear you want to wheelie in and go up one gear above the gear that you want to wheelie in, and you downshift and lock the front brake, and the front end will come up off the road is how to do long wheelie.
I've been doing it all wrong. No wonder I can't get this. No wonder I can't crack Dank Nooners for miles. I need to lock the front wheel. Nobody told me about this, Logan. I didn't know.
And like, I'm not sure if they think they're trying to explain how to do a stoppie. But even then,
that doesn't
locking
work
the front
either.
wheel's not.
You don't want to do that in a
favors.
stoppie. That's going to hurt really bad. I also the directions are already unclear as you began, and I was like, so wait, I pick the gear, but then I go up one gear of the gear that I want to wheelie in, but then I downshift and lock the front wheel at the same time.
Right.
So I think what happens in this comment is like if you downshift and you're locking both wheels, and then somehow you glitch out of the game's bounds and you wheelie.
Oh,
That's
so
what
we're doing
happens.
like speed run glitch allowed any percent.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is any percent tactics, and that's how you can actually do a wheelie. It's how to do long wheelie. Short wheelie is it's a whole other thing.
But yeah, I thought that was a good one.
That is a good one.
I'm like breaking a sweat a little bit laughing like that.
All right, let's switch over to a question.
Sure. So this is from Hylian Samurai.
Hylian.
Is that Zelda?
There, you know what it was.
I knew it was from Zelda. I
Yeah.
played the most recent ones, but I pronounced it wrong. I'm from Michigan. I don't know how to pronounce words. Okay. They ask, guys, I traded in for my first Harley and I can't stop calling people brother. It's like every other word now. My wife started calling me Randy Savage. Do you guys know of any convenient fixes?
So the funny thing about this question is I don't own a Harley, but I have also unironically started saying the word brother.
Yeah.
There's something comforting about calling people brother. You
Yeah.
know, like you're just like, I do it to like, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of someone like I would see like Oh yeah, the other day I was on like this like little off the beaten path, and this guy in this big truck was trying to like go around the other way, and he was asking if like it was gonna lead out the other road, and I was like, yeah, brother, just goes right on the corner over there. I dropped it like that,
Yeah.
I'm like, why did I say that? I think it's just about getting older. It just feels good to say brother.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely establishes sort of kinship with the recipient of the brother, but I think you'd also
the brother-cipient.
You could say there's maybe a little bit of like code switching if we want to get it, because I say like if I pull up to a spot that's got a lot of Harley guys, I definitely turn on the brother act a little bit. Nothing crazy, but I'm like, you got the Vance and Hines pipe on that. Is that the 117? Keep it whatever. Like I play it up a little bit, and it makes people feel good and they want to feel seen and stuff. But if I'm take the Trans Alps somewhere and there's some adventure dads, like definitely approaching them a little bit differently. So but I think that extends beyond just like motorcycles, and guys in trucks, throw him a brother.
Absolutely. Yeah, if I'm in my truck, I'm throwing you a brother.
Or like you see like a hardworking delivery guy, that's like delivering mail or packages to where you live.
Got to drop the thank you, brother.
Exactly, because it's like they're working super hard, probably don't make that much money, probably not an amazing job to have. You want them to feel seen, appreciated, and you say, hey, thanks, brother.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd say.
I think it's also like any HVAC guy, any plumber coming out to do some work on your spot. Hey, thank you, brother, appreciate it.
Exactly.
I don't know why it just feels so good to drop it like that.
Right. And so to our friend here on from Discord, I don't think there's any convenient fixes.
No,
or maybe not any fix.
Lean into it. Yeah. Just accept the fate.
Accept it.
All right. Next unhinged comment, Logan.
All right. This one reads, proof that YN is just another content cucumber. Of course he doesn't understand Janice. He's not the brightest candle in the shop.
Ooh, I've never heard content cucumber. What does it mean?
I've never heard content cucumber either.
That's a first for me.
I think it's kind of funny. It almost sounds complimentary though, like you keep a cool head when you're delivering. I think
content pickle would be a whole other ballgame.
Right.
You've been simmering, you've been stewing in your opinions, and like you don't want to be a content pickle.
Like really into like Rick and Morty.
Yeah, but like a content cucumber, like you're cool. Fresh, you're refreshing, you're garnishing a drink of some sort. Yeah, it's sure. Nice. I've never portended to understand Janice.
Right, and there's probably less than 25 people on planet Earth that do. I don't know what they're
sold like 13 bikes.
Like, I don't know what the production numbers are, but I think it's something that you have to really experience to kind of get.
Well, we should ask the factory in China that they pump them out of, so then we'll figure out the numbers.
Well, those are like your Mutts and your other, right? Like it's just kind of the same engines and frames, and then they just slap the leather seats with the rivets.
About to slap those tariffs on those bad boys. Tell you what.
Here we go.
There you go.
Here we go. But I love comments like this because I see the first sentence and I think it's gonna say, he sucks on track or whatever. But then he hits us with the Janice.
Janice is a good one.
And then I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's just kind of a fool.
Janice Defender is kind of rare, honestly. That's a rare one.
My new Discord name.
Yeah, Janice Defender.
But
that's a good one.
That's pretty good.
Let's move on to the next question.
All right. So this one is from 4B3, also from our Discord, I believe. They ask, why do you dislike the new Hayabusa? It can be bought as low as $14,000. In parentheses, he says, I got mine for 13.7. And it's pretty reliable and comfy and fun and has a great dashboard and a technology suite.
Why do I dislike the new Busa? It certainly wasn't that price when they came out, right? Like when we tested it in 21, it was like a $19,000 motorcycle.
Right. Like I imagine this is some sort of like dealer incentive, like specific to a
because they can't move them. Right? I don't know if I think the issue with the new Busa was that it kind of lost a little bit of that, like, I guess Busa energy. Like the thing I didn't like about it was they leaned into just like the nostalgia and the dad energy and like just didn't try. Like the Busa was always meant to be like an apex predator machine.
Right.
And it just isn't. It got kind of soft and lazy, And I was always like, well, like, why would you, you bought a Busa in the early 2000s because you wanted the King Dick Apex Predator go fast piss missile, right? But now you buy a Busa because you're 55 and your back hurts. Like
Right.
it became a little lame, you know?
Right.
So that's why I ended up being like, oh, like if they wanted to make a Gen 3 Busa, they should have made it had like
more
280
sicko mode,
horsepower,
yeah.
like just sicko mode, just stupid,
Yeah.
like an H2. I think
Right.
the H2 is the new Busa, really.
Right. Because it's like it sort of fell into this sport touring role of just like kind of it just
Yeah.
happened to kind of be comfortable.
Yeah.
And then they just took that angle with it, and I think it's similar to like what we spoke about with like the Monster and some of these other bikes, where it's like they feel kind of like a product of a bygone era that's just
Totally.
like not the same. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they'd either have to make it crazy more powerful, and or even more ugly and grotesque, because now it's almost a little normal looking.
Yeah.
Which is not cool. You need a grotesque Busa.
Yeah. It should be like disgusting looking and disgustingly fast. That's what a Busa is supposed to be.
Disgusting snakeskin seat.
Yes. Next unhinged comment,
All right.
perhaps?
Some of these aren't going to read as good, so I'm skipping over.
Okay.
Speak of the Busa. This person says, the first bike I ever rode/learned on was a Busa. It all depends on how you control the throttle. It's not rocket science. Just don't be stupid.
We hear this a lot, don't we? I hear this a lot on YouTube and on the internet where it's like, oh, just respect the machine, right? I think the problem is like sometimes you're not even thinking about whether you're respecting it or not, and you just happen to make a silly mistake. Big bikes just punish you so hard for the little mistakes, you know?
I think comments like this show that the survey pool is skewed, because those who were stupid, no offense, aren't around anymore to leave the comments.
Yeah, it's survivorship bias.
Yeah.
It's like classic survivorship bias. Yeah, like nobody would comment being like, yeah, I started on a boost and I lost both my legs. So,
Right.
But I recommend it, right? Like no
Right.
one's going to say that. And so, yeah, if you only see this type of comment where you're like, oh, everybody on the forums said that they're fine. I'm like, yeah, because they're the few that survived, you
Right.
know? And yeah, like those guys, like, again, no offense, but like those guys barely know how to ride. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like if you started on a Busa or whatever, or like a leader bike, I mean, again, not to call him out like this because we called him out on the Bike Talk video, but the Matthew Woods of the world, you know, it's like, I mean, he had to be humbled. And he was like, wow, maybe I should own a 200 horsepower motorcycle.
Right.
Wow, maybe just because I can doesn't mean I should. Right.
But yeah, just kind of a classic Busa. We'll do one more before a question, because this one's short. This comment reads, I was debating whether or not to sub. But this video confirmed it for me. Not happening. Later.
That's great that he was like watching videos being like, should I subscribe? Then he's like, nah, this guy.
And then left a comment to let
he's
us
like,
know.
yeah, no, it's not worth my time.
Yeah, I thought that was good. Just classic YouTube energy, you know, hateful for no reason. I think it's great.
Yeah. Logan, I did see this one and I want to read it because it's
Okay,
so
go.
good. This commenter said, 250cc 1 month, 500cc 3 months, 600cc 6 months, 750cc 1 year, 1000cc to 1400cc forever. Do you even know how this works?
Right.
There's a secret framework for motorcycles that I didn't even know about, Logan. I didn't even know how this works.
Yeah, and the fact that just the rhetorical question at the end drives it home that this is like a hilarious comment. And yeah, 1000 to 1400 cc, that's like he stretched the window to accommodate the Busa, you know
Yes.
what I mean? Yeah, no, it's hilarious. And also I don't know what, did this guy write this comment in like 1989, you know, like 250cc, yeah, those kind of exist, but it's not really the segment anymore. 500cc, kind of sort of the segment now. 600, not so much anymore. It's all the 650s, whatever. 750cc, there's one 750 that exists.
Hasn't been relevant for like 15 years.
Yeah, it's like he wrote this comment in 1992, and then just like decided
He scheduled it for later.
he decided for 2025 he was gonna let the world know his secret formula.
Yeah.
I think that comment was on the power progression.
Oh yeah,
video, or just how upgrading your bike's not just about power. Like there's other kind of avenues to pursue different bikes or varied experiences or whatever. But I'm pretty sure he commented on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just funny.
I also wonder if it's like, is this like a cumulative amount of time Or is he saying like you get a 250 for 1 month and then like you ditch it, get a 500 for 3 months, and you ditch it, you get a 600 for 6 months, you ditch it, and then you get a 750 for a year, because 600 to 750 is a big jump, apparently. And then the 1,000 to 1,400 cc you just keep forever. Right. And so it just feels a little like there's a secret framework we don't know about.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, producer Logan, I think it's been a good podcast. I think the boys have enjoyed. I think we had some fun.
Had some fun.
Boys, this is the new revamped Yammie Noob podcast. If you have any comments, suggestions, concerns, drop them in the comments down below. This is still a nascent format for us. We were going to try to modulate it a little bit, see what works, but we're having a good time, and we had a lot of fun. So, yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. See you later.